I'm leaving my husband for his brother. My husband, a 27-year-old male, and I, a 25-year-old female, have been married for 3 years. We don't have any kids together, but we had been talking about it. And we're planning to conceive in the next 5 years. We met through work and shared the same workplace up until around 2 years ago. He had a change in career path and I got promoted. 2 months ago he had a work night out and I was invited to go with him. We had a meal and went to a nice bar afterward in the city. During the meal I noticed him looking at a very pretty woman who looked a bit younger than me. When we got home I asked him about her and he said she was his assistant. I didn't suspect him of cheating because our relationship was perfect. We have plenty of sex and we are super comfortable together, and if either of us had a problem we would bring it up and discuss it. Ever since the night out, he has been constantly away on business and I have been suspicious. I decided to ring his boss a day after he went away on business for a week. His boss told me he was working a few hours away in a big city and his assistant went with him. I messaged my sister and asked if she fancied a girls' weekend, and as soon as we got there I decided to look at his assistant's Instagram. She posted a boomerang and tagged her hotel. After a lot of research, I found that there were several bars surrounding the hotel, but I decided to go to the hotel bar itself. I explained this to my sister, the situation, and she was fully supportive and was annoyed at my husband for going on business alone with his assistant. We stayed at the bar for a few hours and it got to about 2:40 in the morning when he walked in with his assistant under his arm. He then kissed her unaware I was watching. My sister looked so angry and began to storm over. I then grabbed her and took her out of the hotel. We went home the next morning and I didn't know what to do. I wanted revenge, so I was going to message his family about what I saw. I called my friend who is a divorce lawyer and we are trying to sort something out. I decided the best person to message was his brother. He is super attractive and nice, and when I told him about it he told me I needed better than him and was basically slating my husband with him. He came round to the house and I'm not going to go into detail, but one thing led to another and we had the best sex ever. Now I'm going to divorce my husband for his brother. Also, you can all hate as much as you want, but I think I'm a badass. Update 1. Hi all, so I just wanted to come on here and clear a few things up. This update isn't going to cover a lot of the events, and the next update will probably be Friday night, Saturday morning. However, I've got a lot of hate for things I haven't really clarified and I just wanted to explain these things. So a lot of you guys are saying I ruined their relationship, which isn't true whatsoever. My husband and his brother are not close and haven't ever been. They grew up in 2 different households. My husband has 2 brothers, so his older brother and his younger brother lived with their dad whilst my husband lived with his grandma. One envelope will contain the pictures I got from the hotel of them kissing, and the other with divorce papers. As soon as the divorce is finalized, I will find a place of my own and just focus on myself and maybe go to therapy. The last thing I wanted to say is that I know how bad my actions seem and I look like a horrible person. I do believe I acted out of pettiness and broken heart, and I am sorry to anyone who has been hurt by my actions. However, I'm grateful for all the support I've received. You guys are helping me through this. Update 2. Hi everyone. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who waited for this update, and I'm sorry for the lateness. It has been a really dramatic and stressful few days. I'm at my mother's house right now and all of my stuff is here. On Thursday night I put the 2 envelopes on the counter and I left a bottle of wine for him. I then packed my stuff, and up until Friday night, it was really peaceful. However, when he got home, my phone started blowing up. I was receiving messages from my husband and his mom calling me a bitch and weak. He rang me and I wasn't answering, so he left a voicemail saying I was a weak slag who can't handle my husband going out and exercising. At this point, I was genuinely laughing because I thought it was funny how he was trying to impersonate Andrew Tate. I turned my phone off, and it's really important to know that I was home alone as my mom and sister were both at work. I started hearing pounding on the door and I knew it was him. He was thudding his shoulder all up against the door and I felt sick. I called the police and told them my crazy ex-husband was trying to break in. By the time they got here, he had already left, and I'm going to file for a restraining order. I just can't believe this all happened in one night. I sent his brother round to the house to collect a few things I had forgotten when my husband wasn't in this morning, and he's just got back. Apparently, everything was smashed and there was beer cans everywhere. I'm so glad that I've gotten out of this horrible relationship. Also, thank you so much for all the support and the people who were messaging me. I also wish the worst to the assholes who messaged me saying they hope I get cancer and die. Thank you. Now let's see what the community has to say. Opinion number 1 says, wow, his mother sounds just as unhinged as him, bloody out exercising EFF off. What a lowlife. Also reported to HR at his job they're having an affair on the company's money. Get the restraining order, make sure your family all get one against him too. And just to be safe for now, don't go out anywhere alone. He sounds crazy as hell. Like he can go out shag about with a dirty slag that his wife will sit at home smiling and waiting. Opinion number 2 says, thank your husband for the voicemails for proof for the restraining order, and divorce will hopefully make this smoother. Make sure your attorney reaches out to him and all communications go through their office. Keep Mace with you and cameras in the house. Surprised he is this upset when he couldn't keep his eyes off his assistant so blatantly in front of you. Like other Redditors, men who come on here saying they just wanted something outside as an adventure, but they love their wife. Just think they would never be caught. Opinion number 3 says, a word of caution. If you get a restraining order in many places in the country, that includes their family by extension. The law does not care if him and his brother are on good or bad terms or not. He could swear under oath that he has no contact with his brother and you are not using him to pass on any messages, but the law would still say you violated the restraining order being in contact with his brother. Restraining orders don't care about the fine details. They're meant to be used as blunt objects. So technically, your ex could claim you're using his brother and it can be used against you. A lot of people don't know that, and if you speak to a lawyer, they'll warn you of the same. That said, I hope your relationship with your brother-in-law proves to be a healthy one. Your ex-husband cheated on you, and the moment he did that, in my book, metaphorically, all bets were off. If that means finding happiness with his brother, cousin, best friend, etc., or with anyone else, I wish you all the very best. How about you guys? What do you guys think about this whole situation, and what would your advice be for OP? Let's all discuss in the comments section below. I was the alive version of his dead wife. This might be a long one. I never thought I would share such thing. I, 26-year-old female, met my husband, 30-year-old male, through family members years ago, and he asked for my hand months after we met. We had spent time getting to know each other through family gatherings, and he made efforts to come visit more often. He would always have this look of yearning when looking at me. My sister has a habit of doing some background checks on any guy about to be a part of our family for the sake of my sisters and cousins, which I regret not listening to. She had informed me that whilst talking to our male cousin whom he was friends with, our cousin has been his friend for a year up to then and had no input on his past, but a generalization of him being a merely sad, respectful guy. He had told her that he has been depressed for a while until visiting our huge family gathering back in June. I was all he could talk about. We got married the following year and I had moved into his 3-bedroom villa not too far. He had gotten me a whole wardrobe of clothes, carefully placed hair accessories, new hair and body products on the dresser, and shoes that weren't my size that he insisted returning to get the correct size. It was a very wonderful gesture from him. I hadn't questioned it, despite not being used to the different products laid out. I had placed most of my items out alongside the items he bought, and he became frantic. He sat me down and asked me to keep those items as they were, use them and put them back. If I wanted to keep any of my previous items and products, I would have to put them inside drawers where he couldn't see, and that he would appreciate if I used the products he brought to smell that certain way. Days went by and I did as he said. I used the products bought for me and wore the clothes he picked. It was beautiful after all, almost like a man would never pick such things so detailed. I had gone up to him with a plate of fruits when he took me in for a hug, and I felt him sniff the top of my head, then held my arms out to look at the clothes. Again, I dismissed what happened. After weeks, I faced another incident when we would be intimate. He would close his eyes the whole time and mumble things. I mostly heard another woman's name. I asked him about it and he told me it's a thing he's into, saying another woman's name. Then why would you repeat one particular name? When he would be done, he would collapse beside me and cry. I would comfort him and tell him it's okay not to think that he might have used me. But little did I know that wasn't the case. A week later, we had his friends over. Friends he knew since college. They have been to the wedding, but I didn't get a chance to see any of them, and nor have they seen me, because we get separate women and men halls for the wedding due to having religious family members. They have arrived early as my husband gets back from work by 6. I had opened the door and it was like I caught them by surprise, those 3 grown men staring at me like I was some sort of ghost. They fixed their faces and followed my gesture towards the living room, sitting in complete silence. One broke the silence, asked how I was doing, and complimented the house by saying it still looks the same as when decorated it. I stood in silence, unable to move. All I could say was repeat her name with a question mark, when the other 2 friends dismissed it and joked around trying to cover up the slip-up their friend made. I ran to lock the living room door and told them to tell me what's going on. I broke down in tears and begged as there was 30 minutes left before my husband would be back. I needed to know who was this woman. They took pity on me and explained I looked like an almost twin of my husband's late wife he married right after college. They were shocked when they saw me because of how much I looked and dressed like her, which made me think back of everything I received the day after we came back from our honeymoon. I was living her life, copy and paste. I had never realized what I stepped into. They told me my husband had loved her so much he fell into a serious depression, denying any help for a few years. When he saw me, it was like she was reborn and he had to get me. Everything made sense. It all added up. I felt so disgusted. I asked them all to leave and silently they did. I called my sister and in a rush I packed so little of my things into a small suitcase and rushed it into my car. I reached home and told my sister everything. As of right now, I am still legally married to him. I have blocked his contacts and my parents have dismissed him from coming to the house anytime he showed up. I just can't find it in me to be a replacement of a dead woman. Now let's see what the community has to say. Opinion number 1 says, I cannot even begin to imagine what you are feeling right now. I hope one day you'll be able to move past this. Also, I feel like, in the future, if you ever manage to put yourself out there again, you might get a fear along the lines you are being used as a replacement again. If that happens, try to not put that weight on yourself. This was not a normal situation. This is not going to happen again. Opinion number 2 says, how horrifying. You made the right decision. I'm glad you have your family's support. What he did was beyond inappropriate and selfish. Good luck with everything going forward. Opinion number 3 says, how did you not know that he was a widower? Have you never discussed your pasts? Does he not have family? It's hard to believe no one in his family and friends group avoided talking about his late wife. Also, who the hell allows their spouse to say a different name during sex and not be pissed off? Where OP replied, to answer you, none of his family members has said anything about it. He comes from a small family. They wanted what's best for him and thought this could make him happy again, which it did. On the cost of my own happiness. I dismissed what he said to avoid any conflicts. I was a newlywed after all. How about you guys? What do you guys think about this whole situation, and what would your advice be for OP? Let's all discuss in the comments section below.